Hi everyone, in today's hobby video I'm going to build the Malcador Defender. I got this resin kit from a recast in China, otherwise known as Forgeworld, to have to be realistic as to how good the quality will be. But at 40% of the price of GW, including shipping all the way from China, this is actually pretty decent. I'm going to show here initially some of the issues I found, including as I demonstrate the sponsored inserts. There's some pretty big gaps in between where the sponsored inserts go in and actually the track assembly. And of course, as I said, this is a recast. We can't be always perfect, but I do think compared to the GW kit, it's actually pretty decent. Now, an issue I'm already facing is the fact that the sponson swivel points, if you call them, don't actually fit. And as we'll see in a bit later, I have to glue these in place. Not been able to actually move them because they don't actually fit nice and snug. But I don't know if the GW kit actually would be working better. And if you own the kit, do tell me in the comments. But also I've noticed there's some humongous gaps as well. So again, we don't know if it's from the Forgeworld or an actual issue with Forgeworld. Now, as I skip ahead, a huge problem I came into is actually fitting the base of the tank into the overall body. Now, I had to chop huge amounts of pieces off. I had to get like a hobby saw out and hack away, and then get my file and my hobby knife and really chip away. And you can see even at the butt of the model, there's still some huge issues there. So, as we'll see later, it doesn't look too bad once it's fully assembled, but you know, this was a pretty big boo-boo, and you can't bend this in a complete bit, or if you can, I don't know if you can, because it's a huge piece of resin, and probably bending it would be a bit risky to snapping it. And as you can see, as I try and assemble it, what I'll show here is actually that one of the pieces fits super snug, the left-hand side, which I'm putting on now, but the right-hand side has got some humongous gaps that will appear. So as you can see from the bottom of the miniature, on the top left, you can see that huge gap appears. And also as I eventually rotate around, it'll be the same thing at the back of the miniature. Now again, could I have bent this with a huge bucket of hot water? Maybe. Wouldn't have snapped the piece, potentially also. So I have to be quite realistic when we work with resin. Okay, now as I scroll ahead, I'm just going to show basically how the miniature comes together. And a key bit I actually noticed is the top hatch, the little the door hatches don't fit snug at all. So that basically forces you to actually have the miniature with the hatch modelled open, which is okay, given I'm going to put a dude in the top, but again, something to work around. As we scroll forward again, also another boo-boo I found was I think, I don't know what you call these things, but they're modelled off obviously World War I vehicles, those sort of things stop the vehicle tipping over, is that exceptionally warped. Now, this one here isn't warped, and it fits okay. Even then, if you actually do it on the bottom where it's meant to go, it's an inconsistent fit, so it really doesn't work. Now, again, Forgeworld, I think the actual proper kits won't be as bad, and I will actually later on try and bend these. But a bit of a teaser is I actually snap one and have to bloody bend the entire process. So, not great there. Another problem I faced was then the hatch or the grille which goes over the actual exposed engine. The bits I got from Forgeworld were exceptionally warped, and also a bit of a teaser as I snap one of them and I try and reshape them. And you can actually also see as I put them on now, as I fumble my way through making them fit, they don't actually fit in place and fill the entire compartment. So, not great. And having looked at the Forgeworld website, I do know these actually fit quite snug. It's just a matter of, obviously, I've paid a huge discount, and there are, of course, going to be some problems of which these rear engine bay hatch doors don't fit at all. Okay, now on to actually a state of the process where I've assembled part of the miniature. And I've also applied some green stuff, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, the first piece to point out is the rear fuel drums. They had like a hose sticking out, which is facing the wrong way completely. I tried to bend it in hot water, just snapped it off completely, so I just chopped it off. Also, you'll see what is lacking is those two things that stick out the back, as though we're just horribly warped and couldn't fit properly. And the bottom right section, which I'm indicating here, I've whacked in some green stuff. Now, always worried with green stuff, how much will show up with the final finished product. You can see also slightly there is green stuff also on the side along the tracks as well. Now, if I go forward in this video, I then also, you can see I've whacked in a load of green stuff on the right front of the miniature. Now, it's hard to see with this angle, but believe me, I put in loads. I must have, gummed up, I don't know how much you can explain it, but a lot of it. Also, something which was really disappointing is when I assembled the tracks, they didn't fit at all. I actually built them from the back or the bottom all the way to the front. And I disappointingly discovered that I don't actually go all the way perfectly on the top. So I had to jerry rig what are some track guards from a Lehman Russ kit onto the front of it. And it doesn't look too bad. You can see also the sponsons I've magnetized. I've got some las cannons in there. But overall at this point it isn't looking too bad. I do obviously show now what it looks like when it's fully assembled with the top section on top, and also as I demonstrate again the massive problem we're facing with the engine bay cover. Okay, now it's painted and dry brushed, and I've also applied the dirty wash to give it sort of the dusty effect. You can see there, the bottom right where it's green stuff isn't too bad, thankfully, and also hard to see with the light I'm using, but also the front right, you can't actually see it at all anymore. So once I've applied the paint and some dry brushing, and also the wash isn't too bad. But a big problem I've discovered is once you put the top section on, there's a ginormous gap, like a massive gap popping up in the front there. So again, this is Forgeworld to be realistic, but you can actually see, if you look a bit carefully, there is a significant gap. So that top section does not fit snug at all, which is a bit of a disappointment. And I don't know how to fix it with green stuff, so a bit annoying there. Okay, lastly, before we go to the showcase, this is now done, basically all the details painted and some transfers applied. I haven't actually started weathering the miniature, but you can see the engine section. I've actually achieved it by putting a piece of plastic underneath to hold it in place, and then I was able to sort of jerry rig it in place with heaps of super glue, making it nice and snug. So it doesn't look too bad now. Hope you agree. But you can see, obviously, when it's pimped up with all the decals, and before we go into the final showcase, I actually put more stuff on top, more accessories, is that it does feel pretty decent now. It looks pretty decent. If you don't look too carefully, look at some of the problems. It looks pretty good, hope you agree. But as we go into the showcase, you will still, if you look carefully, see some of the things I've had to work through. I've tried to do my best of hiding with extra detail, but as I said, that huge gap in the top section doesn't go away. I don't know how to get rid of it. It's a bit of a shame. Right, so there she is, fully painted and weathered with decals. Now, I haven't varnished the miniature or applied streaking and weathering grime, which I usually do. And check out other assembly painting videos I've done of vehicles, like the Baneblade or the Rogel Dawn, and these links here to see that process. But as I said, it looks pretty decent now. If you do look carefully, there are numerous imperfections. Obviously, the first is the track guards. We have to jerry rig in place. And post actually recording that section of the video, I actually had to cut some single tracks in half and slam them in there. So actually, it doesn't look too bad now, but if you're a perfectionist like I am, you really will notice that those track guards look quite out of place. The rear engine section, I think, looks pretty good now. I had to put a bit of plastic underneath and then slide them on top. And I've done my best with sort of those kit bags and these jerry cans and the bit on top to hide any imperfections, or sort of draw the eye away from those huge gaps which appear. Now, I probably could have assembled a bit differently, put the bolters in, put the top bit on top, and then apply green stuff into those sections, but then it would have been a bit more of a faff painting the bolters, because I always find component painting miniatures sometimes makes the job a bit easier. That's why I painted the bolters separately, put them in, and then assemble the kit around them. So yeah, hopefully interesting to see what is going to be probably a relic now, probably be a legend quite soon, because we have seen the solar auxilia from the Horus Heresy have got plastic Malcadors coming, and from probably the kits that they've shown, there'll be no Malcador Defender, just the Annihilator and the Malcador itself. So a bit of a blast from the past potentially if you're looking into the future, and I'm recording this in February of 2024, but still a super fun process to paint this resin recast all the way from Forgeworld in China. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Any comments, questions, love to hear from you. Otherwise, if you enjoyed it and want to support me, you can do so with a like, comment, or by subscribing, sharing the video, or watching any of my other YouTube videos. I cover everything from the hobby aspects, lore of Astra Militarum and the 40k, and also tabletop tactics. A massive, massive thanks to my current supporters. Let's get your bayonet sharp, lasgun oiled. Faith for the Emperor strong. Patron Platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Lieutenant Burke Nielsen. Colour Sergeant DuPont. Sergeant Adal. The Colonel Merrill. Chosen Man Smith. Veteran Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitin, Nguyen, Tom, Tompkin, Conscript de Paz, England, Evan Gunn, Gillian, Goodwin, King.